Hi all! Before I get into my story, I really just wanted to give a huge thank you to everyone who has stayed tuned to this channel and shared your stories, contributed, just given us, all your support and well wishes. It means the world to us. We're currently at 17% of our goal, so we're a little bit of a stretch away from where we want to be, but this film will get made. We want it to get made, we know it needs to get made, and we want to make it the way that we want to make it. We don't want to cut corners or costs or anything. So it may take us a while to get to 100%, but we are here for it. We're willing to put in the work because this is an incredibly important project to us. To all of you who have donated already, we can't express our gratitude for you. Crowdfunding is not just as easy as like, oh, put up a link and people donate. You have to explain what asexuality is. Why should we help make this film? We have the ace audience, who obviously wants to see it get made, and then trying to sell other people on it is a little bit harder. And that's kind of why we think we didn't make the full goal, but we're still gonna continue forward. We're trying all these different things. We're gonna try different avenues. We're gonna get there. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter if we make the film a year from now. It's something that absolutely needs to get made. And so I just wanted to say thank you so much for everybody who's continued to stay tuned and continue to share our videos and share the donation link. It just means the world to us. I can't tell you how much it means, like when I log onto our YouTube and somebody is like commenting something like, oh, this made me feel so comfortable, or like this helped me figure out that I'm demi, or when people are commenting things like that, I'm just like, all that work, all that stress that we put into, gathering participants and, Zoom calls and planning things and scheduling things and renting studios, all that, like it's all worth it in an instant. Just if it makes one person feel better, feel safe, feel comfortable in their own skin. So I sincerely want to thank you guys for that. So I noticed on our YouTube that one of our most popular videos is the one of people being asked, when did they first know they were ace? And I love that video. It's got such a diverse range of answers, for so many different people. For some people it was like when sex ed happened. For other people it was like dance class, and it's just so great. I had a lot of fun putting that one together. And so I figured that to expand on that, since that one was doing really well on the channel, I wanted to tell you guys my own story from start to finish, because it's amazing to have all these different perspectives, like saying like, I realized at this moment, and this moment, and this moment, and this moment. I think it would be extremely helpful to especially younger aces, or honestly even people that are elder aces, to be able to see a timeline, because I didn't always know, and I didn't always know what the word was, and so it's really eye-opening to see the different points at if I had known the word, that I would have right off the bat been like, oh, okay, I'm just ace. Sharing that story, I think a lot of people will have similar experiences, because I think a lot of people have already internalized ace phobia. When they're young, they're like, I can't be this way. I have to be allo, and we don't even consider that being asexual is a thing because we're not taught that it's a thing. So I'm hoping that my story will just help other people feel less I see so many people's comments where they're like, I should have known, and it's like, how could you know if you weren't taught that? Apologies in advance, I live above a really busy road. I guess where I would start would be 5th grade, because that's when we kind of started having the once a year class on just first your body changes, not even anything related to sex, but just how your body's going to change when you hit puberty. And then I remember in 6th grade, that's when we actually had the sex ed talk. So in 6th grade, we're having this discussion, this class. Obviously nobody's taking it seriously. We're a bunch of 6th graders. We're laughing, because it's a joke. It's a joke to everybody. And we hit 7th grade, and that's kind of when I noticed most of my classmates around me becoming interested in sex. Not necessarily because they were doing it or wanted to do it. It was just oh, I'm in 7th grade, I'm in junior high, I'm a big kid now. I need to be doing big kid things and talking about big kid things. And that's how I interpreted it. I was like, oh, nobody's actually interested in this. People are just feigning they want to be adults. Everybody's just trying to grow up too fast. They want to be adults, and that's just it. It's just all talk. When I hit high school and people were actually sharing stories, I was like, wait, people are actually doing this? I was like, last time I checked, we were like a bunch of sixth graders. What happened? We were all joking about this. We all agreed that this was like funny and a joke and like not an actual thing. Somewhere in between junior high and high school, I'm so interested to see if anybody has had this same experience. But basically, one of my bestest friends in the world, who's also ace, we would like relentlessly hate on Miley Cyrus. And I apologize now, Miley, you're so cool, you know. We were literally just kids being haters. Kids love to hate on things, you know. Kids love to be like, that's not even cool. You know, everybody has done that, you know, and if you haven't, you're lying. But we would like hate on her videos, like the ones that like were slightly like, you know, sexual or had any pieces of nudity. We would like hate on those, and we were like, wow, that's like so lame, and da-da-da-da. And looking back, you know, for me at least, I can't speak for him, I was so threatened by the idea of sexuality that I, you know, at the time, these are not my views now. I want to make that very clear. I was like 12 when I was doing this, but I was like slut shaming women and, you know, music videos that were like a little bit sexually graphic. Like I was just like, ew, that's so gross, that's so lame, why are people like this? Because I was, you know, I was ace and I didn't know it, and I couldn't understand like why people, you know, were into that sort of thing. And so I took it out, you know, on women, on people around me, and I feel incredibly bad for that, you know. My views have changed so much. I literally, if you're a pop star, do whatever the fuck you want. Get that bread. Like, I'm so serious, you know. I just, at the time I was a kid, and, you know, that was like my response to like knowing I was ace and seeing, you know, media figures being like so open about having sex and being sexual and things. And I was like, ew, no, you know. It was that internalized ace phobia, you know. And so I'm just really interested to see if anybody also like had that kind of experience. And again, Miley, I apologize. I am embarrassed that I ever had those views. I was just like a little closeted asexual who was just like scared. But, you know, it's just funny because there's little moments like that where you'll be like, that definitely was related to asexuality. We hit high school, and like I said, people are actually like having sex, and I'm like, oh my god, that's, you know, I'm like, people are actually doing that. Because people would talk about it, and people were having babies and stuff, and, you know, like, more power to them, like, do what brings you happiness. But like at the time I was like, oh holy shit, like everybody around me is like feeling this. Why am I not feeling this? And I kind of just chalked it up to like, oh, I'll feel this like towards the end of high school. Maybe this is just like a grown-up feeling, and I'm just not old enough to like start feeling these feelings, you know. Even though I'd hit puberty and everything, I was pretty grown. I got pretty much as tall as I'm ever gonna get, you know, like everything was set in place, except I was missing this feeling. And I was like, okay, maybe everybody around me, again, is just feigning this feeling, or trying to grow up too fast. Like, maybe they're just not being honest. And so I get to the end of high school, and I'm still not feeling anything. And I'm like, am I supposed to be like boy crazy? Am I supposed to be like, you know, am I supposed to be talking about this like, you know, all the other people are? But towards the end of high school, like when people were in like super serious relationships, you know, as opposed to when you're in junior high and you get together and you break up like 30 minutes later, I was like, oh holy shit, so like this is a thing. Like, we're not just kids anymore. Like, why? I was like, why is everybody around me like having these feelings and I'm like not? Because I had crushes all throughout like high school, like and up, and you know, my idea of like a typical date would just be like what you see in the movies, like candlelit dinner in a movie. You know, I never found myself like daydreaming about like sexual encounters with any of my crushes, or even celebrity crushes for that matter, you know, which people around me were like, yeah, I would do this and this to my celebrity crush. And I was like, geez, you know, like, no shame, but like, not for me. And so that was kind of like my crisis, was that I was like, I know I like people and I feel very romantic about people, but like, why don't I feel this feeling about them? And so I, again, just like wrote it off as like, I guess I'm not old enough. I was like, when I hit college, that's when the feelings will come. Because, you know, in every stereotypical depiction of college you've seen, it's like breeding grounds. Like, so I was like, yeah, when I hit college, like that's when the feelings will come. And at that same time, I was also having the thought, you know, and this was partly due to just society and media depicting this in general, I was having the thought that women in general didn't get sexual feelings because I had never felt those. I was like, oh, this is just a guy thing. That's why I'm not feeling. Like, I, in my mind, made up any ludicrous excuse as to like, I'm like, you know, I'm just like everybody else, I swear. Like, I just, you know, it just must be this, you know? So I was just like, oh, I guess women just like don't get horny or like, you know, want to have sex. Like, because in media, you see like shoved so far down our throats, and especially to the detriment of asexual men, that men, you know, are having all these crazy feelings and they're like horny all the time and like, you know, they're the ones that are pursuing it, and it's always the woman in the film who's like, oh, I don't know, and like, you know, they make women out to be like, oh, you're playing hard to get, and like just seeing depictions like that when you're young, just like all the time of women being like, I'm not in the mood, you know, I genuinely, sincerely thought that like this was just not a feeling that women experienced. Because if you're feeling that way, how would you know that you're any different from the people around you? You know, so I was just like, oh, women just don't feel this feeling. You know, and again, I was at the end of high school. I didn't realize how like crazy that thought was. So then I get to college and this debunks that thought entirely. Like, all the amazing boss-ass women around me are like, damn, I got a dick appointment at 2:45 today. Like, and I'm like, well, damn, so there goes that theory. Like, you know, people in college were just living their best lives. And I'm like, damn, I'm happy for you. But now I'm definitely feeling like an outsider. Because, you know, I would hang out with like different people from around the college, and our apartment complex had like a hot tub, and so people in the hot tub would be like, fuck, marry, kill, and be like, I don't really want to F any of these people, like, you know, like, just like make up, you know, or like substitute like a celebrity's name, or be like pass, you know, because I don't drink and I don't smoke. And I already got tons of shit for that during college, so I didn't want to additionally get shit for also not having sex. So I was like, you know, I was like, oh yeah, like this, I would totally bang that celebrity. Like, they're so hot, you know, and just like lie through my teeth about it, because I, again, just didn't want to catch flack for it. So again, everybody around me is just like living their best lives. And I'm like, okay, so everybody is feeling this way. Why am I not feeling this way? And so during college, there was also this turning point where there was a friend of my roommates who, she was talking about her boyfriend, and like, I'm very juvenile. Like, if somebody like says sex, I'll be like, you know, and I'm never shaming people. I'm just genuinely trying to be funny, and I'm also immature. But so she was talking about her boyfriend and stuff that they had been doing, and she mentioned porn, and I was like, you know, like I always am, because I'm a child. And she was like, why are you making that noise? Like, you know, everybody watches porn. And I was like, you know, in my head, I was like, oh shit, everybody? Like, I don't. Like, And it really like was like, oh, whatever, like these people are just like freaks. And I'm like, you know, like, I think like every ace person has had that. Again, like, you know, I think it's easy when you've internalized your ace phobia to be a little bit judgmental at that stage. And I just like, I swear on my life, you guys, I'm not like that anymore. I don't want you to ever think that I would judge somebody for, you know, their sexual preferences or whatever they do in their private life. I really, you know, I don't care. And so then there was this other conversation with the same party of people, and one of them just brought up like lube and masturbation. And again, I, you know, being the immature person I was at the time, I was like, ew, you know. And they were like, what are you talking about? Everybody masturbates. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, you know, I was like, not everybody. And, you know, everybody was kind of like, yeah, okay, I guess, like, you know. But then that's like when it really, like, I was like, holy shit, like something's different. Like something's like pretty different with me if like all these people around me are like, everybody does this, everybody, like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you? And I'm like, you're right, you know, what is this? And I started to think a little deeper about it. And there was even a point where one of my own roommates had like brought up the word demisexual in conversation and explained what it meant. And it literally, you know, it was close to my experience, and I heard her talking about it because we were having a conversation. She was in a relationship at the time, and we were all, you know, sharing like, you know, things like that. She explained what it was, and, you know, it sounded really relatable. But again, me like having such internalized aphobia, I was like, that's cool. It could never be me, you know, like I was so in denial. I was like, so like, I need to be normal. I need to be, you know, heteronormative, and I need to have, you know, I need to be exactly, you know, because if I don't, then my life's gonna be so much harder, and I don't want that, you know. And it's like, who the fuck does? Who wants their life to be harder? Like, come on. But sometimes, you know, it's the cards you're given, and you just gotta work with it. So that was like my first real like brush with it, was like hearing it in conversation and being like, that like kind of sounds like really similar to my experience. And it also kind of scares me because I'm trying my hardest to like not necessarily fit in, but just go undetected in this area. Like, so no. And then, you know, time went on after that conversation, and I never really thought about it again. I still was just like, oh yeah, I'm normal, everything's fine, everything, you know, because it was just something that I did not want to address. It was a fearful topic for me because it's like, I did know in my mind, I was like, if I am asexual, that's going to make dating 1,000 times harder. That's going to just make life in general a little bit more uncomfortable. Because I'm an extremely romantic person. You know, there was never one point in my life where I was like, maybe I'm like, no, I'm like, I literally will bring you flowers and food and a stuffed animal. Like, don't test me. But so I was just like, damn, you know, there was never at any point where I didn't want a partner. It just like wasn't the focus, you know, because this entire time as I was like trying to figure out like, what am I had crushes, and I had liked people, and they didn't like me back. And so I never ran into like having to have like that conversation with somebody or anything. But I had in my head, and this was crazy, like this was before I knew what asexuality was, I had in my head like practically a PowerPoint of being like, listen, I'm extremely romantic and I feel like really strong romantic feelings towards people, but I'm not confident in this area, and I don't really want to do, you know, and I know that's weird because everybody wants to do that, but like I'm also like, you know, I want to kiss somebody, and I want to, you know, snuggle and do, you know, I'm not opposed to touch and everything and being cuddled and, you know, and all these like ifs and but like a whole PowerPoint, you know, for what I knew to be true about myself when I did not know, you know, shorthand asexual. You know, I'd prepared like a whole speech to like give, you know, a potential partner when I did eventually acquire one, like all these like ins and outs of like what I was, not knowing that that was, you know, asexuality, just being like, this is how I am, please accept it, you know, like, because I didn't know the term at the time. When I did finally, you know, hear about the term a little bit more, and what ultimately led me to realize that I was asexual, or I think I had it realized like since 12, I just didn't want to acknowledge it. So I was like, oh man, this is like a scary thing. It is an entirely terrifying thing. And it was like a whole other level for like, you know, people like me who are super romantic, because I was like, oh no, nobody will want to date me. And that's not true. People will love you, people will want to date you, people will want to be with you. So just know that. At this point in time, I had graduated college, and I, you know, still was kind of like, I don't know, I was like, something's different, I just don't know what, but something's different. So that's kind of why I like kind of kept myself like out of the dating world for a little, because I was like, I want to figure this out before I just like blindly stumble out there. You know, if I had a crush on somebody, like I would usually like tell them. So one day my friend recommends BoJack Horseman to me, not because of the asexual character, but because it takes place in LA. He was like, oh, you know, you would understand the jokes in this more because you actually live in LA. And so I was like, okay, cool, I'll watch. And I watch it, and you know, Todd gives his whole little spiel, and I was like, oh my God, that is exactly how I feel. And I cannot fight it anymore, I cannot deny it anymore. I have known for a long time that I am asexual. I did not want to accept it. I internalized it. I was so scared to just, finally embrace it. And like that day, that night that I watched that episode, I remember I put it on my close friends story, so all my best friends could see it. I'm like, I'm asexual, and probably half of them already knew it, knowing me. Like if you've known me my whole life, you probably, were like, well, yeah, we were just waiting for you to tell us, kind of deal. It was such a freeing moment. And it's like, that is why representation is so freaking important. And making videos like this are so important to show people your own journey, to help with their journey, to let future generations know, to let, past generations know. There's nothing more important than representation. And so I was so grateful for BoJack, because that was the show that helped me realize, and not realize, that was the show that helped me embrace it. When they show Todd, he's great, he's goofy and lively, and he likes going on dates and, getting food with who, but just, not having sex. And I was like, they show it in such a positive light. Yeah, he has his own troubles and stuff, but they also just show him, as just this crazy character. His whole on-screen presence is not just, doled down to this one trait about himself. And it's not, this tragic back. It's just he's just an ace. He's just a dude chilling and he's ace. And I'm just chilling and I'm ace, So that really, it was such an important moment to me. I can't thank, the creators enough for putting that into the show. It's just and so once I realized, I was like, well, damn, there I am. I started my journey into the dating world knowing exactly who I am and what I would be comfortable with and what I wouldn't. And I was really proud of myself for figuring that out first. And so yeah, that's from start to end, really my experience with it. I think I've grown so much in terms of how I view just sex in general. I'm not opposed to it in media or other people's lives. It's just not really something that I incorporate into mine, and that's completely okay. I have my support system. I have millions of people out there who are just like me. All of you who tune into this channel. I'm so grateful for all of that. I feel so free and at ease and just really comfortable with myself, And I'm just this is just how it is. This is just how I am, and I'm gonna live the way that I am, because why wouldn't I, And it's yeah, my life's a little bit harder, dating's a little bit harder, but I can do hard things. I can take on any challenge, and so can you guys. So I really appreciate all the love and support. I hope that this story has helped people gain some insight and, know that nobody knows immediately. Sometimes it takes you a decade to figure it out. Some people don't figure it out until they're in their middle ages because they just aren't exposed to it. And how lucky am I to be alive at a time when BoJack Horseman comes out and exposes me to something that I can embrace positively. So that's what this channel is for. That's what this whole project is about. Embracing asexuality. We are amazing people. Yeah, our lives are a little bit harder, but they're also more wonderful because we are truly authentically being ourselves. So I love each and every one of you, and thank you again to everybody who supports this channel regularly. We'll see you on the next upload. Peace out.